going to take a break from the show to feature a new segment that discusses an often overlooked aspect of the business. I'm speaking about creating a family-friendly environment inside the restaurant industry. With help from our friends at Family Forward NC, which is a program of the North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation, a nonprofit that works to support children and their families across the state, we're going to discuss ideas, resources, and testimonials from those that work within the company, as well as actual restaurant owners that have implemented family-friendly practices while working with Family Forward NC.
And to help us understand better what Family Forward NC is all about, we have the Community Engagement Leader of North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation, Ms. Lisa Finaldi. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you today.
Let's just get right into it. What is Family Forward NC?
Sure. My team has been traveling across North Carolina talking to employers about how family-friendly workplaces have value for them and also support their employees and the health and well-being of children.
And so what are some of the practices that are considered family-friendly?
Great question. So family-friendly really means that employers are supporting parents in the workplace. In North Carolina, we have 400,000 working parents who have children ages 0 to 6.
Wow.
And we know that when children get support from their parents, but also from their community, and business is part of a community, they are going to be more successful in school, in life, because they're getting that really important foundation when they're young. And so if we look at benefits that are most important to the hospitality industry, for example, we can look at paid leave, includes paid sick leave, medical leave, a parent's ability to take a child to their doctor's appointment. These kinds of leaves that they won't get docked for are really important. Also, giving workers some access to referrals for childcare. As we know right now, critical situation, right? We're also thinking about scheduling. There's just a lot of research that shows that both flexibility, in some cases predictable scheduling, is really important for parents. And also the option, for example, of a job share. It's not something that we think about very often, but all of these benefits have value to the business. So we could look at absenteeism. We can look at turnover. Turnover is huge in hospitality, and we could reduce turnover if we're able to think about creatively about what these benefits could be that we can provide to employees.
That seems beneficial for the business in its own self. Why are these practices important for both the business and child and family health and well-being?
Well, let's just take one example. So if we look at turnover, a lot of small and independent businesses, they know they have a turnover problem, but maybe they're not able to actually quantify it and look at what is the financial impact, right? And so the financial impact has to do with finding somebody taking the time to replace an employee. So you've got to take time to do that. People filling in the meantime, training someone, all these things actually have monetary value. So how can I avoid that? And when parents are, treated as parents, knowing that they have kids at home, that's so important to them. It reduces their stress. When they reduce their stress, they're going to stay. They're going to be more productive. And more productive equals a happy customer because we have a happy employee.
Family Forward NC is an innovative initiative of the North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation. Family Forward NC can provide your company with resources and support to help you implement practices like paid leave, flexible work and scheduling, health benefits and flexible spending accounts, child care support, and more. For more information, please visit familyforwardnc.com. Business smart, family friendly, future ready.
You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina. And now, the misfits in the dish pit, the faces of the front. They are Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today in studio, we have the chef of two great restaurants in the Triangle. One, the many times mentioned Alley 26 in Durham, great cocktail bar as well.
Yeah.
And newly helmed as one of the famous restaurants in America, Crook's Corner, we have Carrie the Chef Schleiffer. I mean, great, you're the chef of these great restaurants, blah, 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 blah. More importantly, you're one of, much more importantly, you're one of my fellow Giants fans. So
Yes.
is Danny Dimes going to be the real deal? And who are the Giants taking with number 11? That's really what we want to talk about all day.
I'm giving Danny another year. I like the kid, you know. He came from Duke and he did great there, but I mean, who does Duke really play in terms of like, now you're in the NFL? Like, I think he needs a little more time to you know, step up, but I think the kid can do it. We're going to give him another year.
Okay.
He's
Great.
no Derek Carr, which I get so much crap
Here we go.
for Derek Carr. I have to like be a Derek Carr apologist all the time. And I'm like,
Is that the Raiders?
he was,
Are they in Canada now? Where do they play?
how dare you? The door's right there, chef. You can see your way
I'm
out.
just kidding. I love Vegas.
I'm like, what? But why do people hate on Derek Carr? The guy was a potential MVP before he broke his ankle in 2016, and then he's always been good, if not great, and then a really shitty defense. That's the whole thing with the Raiders. But anyways, this is not a food and beverage podcast. Shannon Healy
He's like
would
cringing
not
right now.
approve of any of this, and we can bring him up in a sense because you work with Shannon.
That's true. He would
now-
love that I'm wearing a Jägermeister mask right now.
I love that you're wearing a Cher throwback to the mid 80s t-shirt too.
Yep.
We are turning back time as if she would wish by looking at that. But we just had Shannon on recently because we were talking about tips and the whole concept of tipping in restaurants and how we're paying restaurants and how we're going from there. That's a fun episode. I think we should do a round two. My big hopes are to do it with people that are actually tipped employees, which I think would be cool. And somebody even said you should get like avid diners, like professional diners, you know, like you know, Terry goes out to every place, and we got like Dan and Eric and all these guys who like dine at every restaurant because they're the ones spending the money. So it's like, how do you want to give your money to restaurants?
That sounds more like a part 3, and not to get completely off topic, but it's funny. We asked for people's feedback and commentary.
Yeah.
And we're talking about haters because I think they're, you know, Derek Carr haters, blah, blah, blah. But the one comment somebody made was when we listed the guests on the tipping episode was none of whom are tipped employees. I'm like, you could have said that in such a better way. Like, hey, what about some tipped employees to give their, you know, opinion?
Yeah. But then they wouldn't be a hater. And by the way,
Right.
whoever said that, I've been a tipped employee almost my entire career, except for when I became a general manager. So I have way more experience. That's like I wrote an article about whether you tip well or not tip well to bad service in a Raleigh magazine issue, and I got racked over the coals. Like somebody like put it up on Facebook and was like, look, this asshole doesn't know anything about whatever. And in the article I said, you know, at the beginning of my career for the first 7-8 years, I was a server bartender, and then someone was like, psh, only 7-8 years. I bet he sucked. That's why he moved on. I'm like,
That's
it's
why you
quite
moved
the
up.
opposite, idiot. I was really good at being that they gave me the next job up, which was to be in charge. I get it. And I even said it in the episode. I go, Matt and I, as previously tipped employees, have a pretty good perspective about what it means to be in a pool or not be in a pool or then eventually go into salary or something to that level. But that was that episode. You should check it out. It's really cool. And we'll do a follow-up with it, a little bit more about tipping. But now we have someone that knows how to flip the hash, move the eggs over, make bacon. I'm sure you do more than just breakfast items. I'm just kidding. You probably don't do any breakfast items, really.
Well, I do now with Crooks. We have brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. So
that's right.
welcome
Okay.
back to brunch. I'm really thrilled about that.
So but Carrie, you're a native New Jerseyan or whatever you
Yes.
call that, right?
That's New Jersey. That's
New
right.
Jerseyan. And I was looking at your background. You've been kind of all over the place, which is really cool. You went to University of Arizona, is that right?
I did.
So you just partied, didn't do any studying, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And whenever I hear University of Arizona, I'm like, it's just a party school. That's all they ever talk about. That and ASU, both of them, right? Like,
AS who?
The state school, right? Yeah, I got it. But as I saw on there, you had worked at Tabla and Gramercy. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have the noted chef who's been on our show, RIP to Chef Floyd Cardoz. I assume you worked with him?
I did for 3 years. And then I went back when Tabla was closing in 2010 and helped him close it as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a great man. It's a real, this whole pandemic's been a real bummer, but that is definitely a mark over the last year. It was really hard to lose him. The anniversary just passed last week of his death, and
yeah,
he was really an exceptional chef, an exceptional person, and it's a real bummer that he passed from this.
Upon hearing about his passing, I was sitting there with my daughters, and of course everybody's home in quarantine. I just pulled my guitar out and played Hallelujah from beginning to finish. Mm-hmm. And normally my kids will like interrupt in the middle because it's not a Taylor Swift song or something, and whatever. But it was just peaceful, and I just played it from beginning to end, recorded it like on video on my laptop, and I just watched it again for the first time in a while. And man, I had tears in my eyes, and I'm like, oh. So that was for Floyd, and we actually
that's lovely.
We put his episode back out because we went up to New Jersey and interviewed with him at his home because Chef Bobby McFarland was our connection. He knew Floyd really well,
right?
And we did the interview in his living room. And his dogs are sitting there. His wife made us tea. We ate the greatest asparagus we ever had from his garden as he was just picking it on the side. He's like, you ever want to try this? And it was like, it already felt like it was fully seasoned and like poached and all. It was just perfect. But it was like, oh, that's what fresh, really good asparagus is supposed to taste like. If anything, let's kick it off there. How the heck did you get to a place where you were working now at what now in hindsight you look back and go, that was kind of like the epicenter for a lot of food coming out of New York, which many could say is the epicenter of where food is made.
Sure.
So how did you get your foot in the door at Tabla and Gramercy?
Well, like any other kid from New Jersey that grew up 20 miles west of New York City, after college, I moved to New York, and I went to culinary school. It was something that I had always wanted to do. I started cooking. My mother really enjoyed cooking, but admittedly wasn't very great at it. And she was also ill for many years, like before she passed in 2004. But when I was in high school and, even in college, like my mother loved to cook, but she struggled with her health. So I would do a lot of cooking with her. And I always wanted to go to culinary school after that, but she said, no way, you're going to college. So I went to college, and then after she had passed, I eventually went to culinary school in New York, and I actually went to school right down the street from Tabla. I did my externship at Gramercy, and then when I was done with that, they didn't have any space open to work, but he said, Chef Mike Anthony was like, you should give Chef Floyd Cardoz a call. I think they're looking over at Tabla, and I did, and I got a job there.
That's awesome. And little side note, I realized not only are we connected through Giants fandom, but also you worked with Ross Mendoza, chef, who's a good friend of the show, who's out in California now, right?
I'm not sure where he was in California, and then he was in Texas. I'm not 100% where he is. I reached out to him last month because it was his birthday.
Yeah.
We're in contact social media wise.
Yeah, same.
But another great guy. I love Ross so much.
Yeah, and also at Tabla alum was Chef Chris Leahy, who was my chef when I ran the wine program at BLT Prime in Gramercy, right around the corner. So, and we discovered last week that Carrie most likely made the appetizers on Sarah's first dinner with my parents in New York City was at Tabla.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
she was in the kitchen. Yeah, it was most likely. Yeah. Anyway,
well, while we're still going around all the connections, it's funny. I was looking up. I saw on your bio that you'd also been at G2B out here. And is G2B, was that in Chapel Hill? Or
no, it was in Durham. It was
that's right. Yeah.
In like by South Square on Shannon University.
It's like an odd place for a restaurant.
Behind back of a building. It was a crazy location, but
G2B
we made it work.
Was kind of like the beer version of what one was possibly like, or that's oversimplifying.
Yeah, well, it was a gastropub, so it grew into a very large beer selection. We had large format bottles, small probably over 100 beers. And then ultimately they built a brewery, and they had like a little microbrewery in there. That Andrew Christianberry was making the beer, which now he does Mordecai.
Oh, that's right. That
Brewery
just opened
down
up.
here. And I spoke to him the other day too. They're shameless plug for him. They're opening on Tuesdays starting this week, so now I might actually be able to go and see them because they're open on a day that I'm not working.
Nice.
So, but yeah.
That's a good place to jump off of what brought you down here because, as you said, most kids growing up west of New York, 20 miles west, move to New York City, but most don't get down to North Carolina. So you was just kind of happenstance for you. And talk about a little bit what brought you down here, but also the idea about like where you wanted to be and what level you were at and why North Carolina afforded you that opportunity.
Sure. Well, I mean, I got a great education, obviously, in New York City. I mean, there's no better place to cook, to learn, the ways of the industry. A friend of mine that worked with me at Tabla was from here, from Chapel Hill, Durham. And he was up in New York cooking because his wife was at Columbia for dental school. So they eventually moved back when she was done with school. And then like a year and a half after, he called and he's like, I'm opening this new restaurant with this great chef. His name is Ricky Moore. And I need a sous chef. Get down here. And I said, go fuck yourself. I'm not moving to North Carolina.
Right.
And we were very good friends, and he was like, well, just come visit me. Like, just come see it. Just come meet him, whatever. And it just, all the pieces fell into place. My lease was running out. I was kind of not over New York, but it's like, I can't work for $10, $12 an hour in the city anymore. And honestly, it was an opportunity, and I was 29 at the time. So I was like, if I'm ever going to move, now's the time. What's the worst case scenario? I don't like it. I move back.
Yeah.
And I moved here, and 11 years later, here we are.
But also you were telling me that, at that time, for whatever reason, nobody was going to give you a sous chef position in like New York about where you wanted to.
Well, it's not necessarily that they wouldn't. I mean, I wasn't really looking. I was happy at Tabla. I'd been there a very long time, and that crew was undeniably like the best family I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
There was no reason to leave, but like I said, other things in my life started to change, and it was like, if this is going to happen, now is the time.
Yeah.
So let's just give it a shot. So I moved here.
And that was G2?
No, that was for Giorgio's.
Oh, that was for Giorgio's.
In Cary,
That's right.
Which we had a brief run. It was about a year that it was open. And then after that is when I went to One. My friend became a sous chef over there, and I got a job at One. And about maybe 8 or 9 months after that, G2B had been open for about 5 months, and they'd cycled through a couple chefs, and the owner was like, I need you to go over there. And I was like, okay. And he promoted me to chef, and I became the chef at G2B.
Boom.
That's funny. I was just seeing also on social media this morning, everything's so like tight when it talks to the food and beverage industry that the one-time chef at One, Kim Floresca, she's in my own stomping grounds of Santa Monica now, working for Goop Kitchen.
For Goop, yep.
Which, is Gwyneth Paltrow's brand, her company.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly, but I think it's just 100%, like it's a ghost kitchen, right? Or it's like 100% takeout kitchen?
I think it's a ghost kitchen. They're cooking. I think it's, I don't know if it's like those, like order your meals delivery kind of thing, or I don't know quite how it works, but yeah, I don't think it's not a sit-down restaurant or anything.
Yeah, I saw like the location. She literally is, or the location's like 5 blocks away from where you used to live, Matt, back in the day, right off of
18th in Santa Monica.
Yeah, she's at like Purdue in Santa Monica, so just down a little ways, 10 blocks or so. But yeah, we should talk to her someday. I actually just reached out. So Kim, if you're listening, check your instant messages on Facebook because I want you to be on the show. It'd be fun.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Daniel.
Yeah,
they're lovely too. You should talk to
they're
them.
Great.
They're
we've
great
met.
people.
It's been years, and then they eventually moved on to back to California, and also amazing people. So let's discuss now. Okay, you worked at G2B. You've been in the trenches as a chef or sous chef or line cook or whatever you will out here in North Carolina for quite some time. Like you've put your dues in. And when I heard that Alley 26 was going from just a straight cocktail bar to just opening up the left-hand side, if you will, and turning it into a sit-down restaurant and then putting it in, they're like, oh, yeah, and then we're bringing in Chef Schleiffer, and it's going to be kind of like gastropubby, high end, but still approachable and all. I was like, oh, interesting. And I mean, of course, everybody's always like, is that going to work? Is this going to work? I feel like it worked. I feel like it put on it like you guys.
People seem to really like the burger.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I appreciate about it is, for one, Shannon and everybody that's worked for Alley 26, even a shout out to Rob Mariani, who's probably just laying on the beach somewhere.
Let's not talk about that guy.
That mother effer,
Forget that. I'm so mad at him. I texted him last week. I was like, you know what? Stop posting on Facebook. Nobody wants to see your shit.
He just decided to move.
Sitting there living your best life in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, right? Yeah. And he's always been, he's a great bartender, and he always just kind of looked like Captain Morgan, just hanging out with the cool suave mustache and goatee. And I remember he was telling Felicia, and he's like, I think I'm just gonna move to Puerto Rico and do my thing. And Felicia's like, you know what? Like, that seems perfect on you. You should just do that. And now he's just in his element. But I remember like the hospitality of Alley 26 has always been top notch, and from the cocktail side, the bar side. And then I loved that taking the same mentality and approach of like high-end ingredients, thoughtful process, a lot of prep, but then just approachability, because you're doing burgers and you're doing finger foods, like almost like essentially like really good bar food, but just like gluttonous and dare I say like pornographic at times.
Oh yeah,
I've seen some of that.
We're not afraid to be gross.
Your foie gras
in an amazing
burger, way. Like please explain some of these things that you're doing. Like, what was that all about?
Well, so the foie actually started at G2B. We used to do. I don't know if you remember, like years ago, it was like the Mayan apocalypse was coming.
Yeah.
And so I did a special burger that night that I called the Afoiecalypse, and it was a 1 pound burger with like triple cream brie on it, and bacon, and onion rings, and foie, and an egg, and just gross.
If you're gonna
it was huge. It was a
meal.
$35 burger, and people loved it. I'd serve it with a pound of fries, and served it on a cutting board because that's the only thing it fit on.
Oh my god.
And then my amazing...
Did you get a prize if you finished the whole thing?
Well, no, but I only saw 2 people finish it, and they were like 17-year-old like football player kids.
Yeah.
Most people would get it and like cut it into 4 to share for the table.
Right.
But that was really popular, so we brought that back to Alley a couple months ago, and people loved it. But it was like, all right, well, on a smaller scale, we can just take the foie and just shove it in the burger and just do an 8-ounce burger with a little foie gras in there and make it delectable and delicious, and people love it. So
I think that's
at
what
this
we
point,
look
especially
for.
in COVID times, whatever people are willing to buy, I'm willing to make it.
But you know what's cool is you were perfectly suited to pivot in COVID times, because even before they had opened up on the side, you were already in Alley 26. Like, I don't know, there was a small kitchen, right? Then you were like, because that whole kitchen didn't open up fully until you opened up the second side. Weren't you like cooking behind the bar on like hot plates or something like that?
Well, no, there were no hot plates. I would make things that were cold, or we used a commissary to make things in advance. So there was no hot food prior to, but I only worked there. It was probably about a year, because Shannon was like, I want you to come on board, but obviously we have to build this first.
Yeah.
So I just worked behind the bar doing the cold food, and I ran specials as best I could.
Yeah.
But and then essentially became the best bar back. Because like, I mean, if I'm standing there, if nobody's ordering food, it's like, I'm not just going to stand here. So I would help the guys. And
you crushed me and TV's John May sitting down one time. I think you had just started there, and you're just like, here, you need to eat this. You need to try this. You need to try this. We're like, yes, please. It was quite a bit. But yeah, it was like almost like masterful garmage. Like you weren't doing, it was like food without a hood, right?
Yeah. Essentially.
Basically. And I mean, but again, in that setting with a smart cocktail and whatever you want to have, a little craft brew, you're getting all of your pickled this and that and a mousse here and all that. I mean, you don't want anything other than that anyhow. So that was...
I mean, that's what I want to eat when I'm sitting in a bar. Meat and cheese and pate and...
salty goodiness.
Yeah. I mean, I could eat that every day for dinner.
Yeah. And so then Alley opens... you get nice reviews, you get like a pre-dinner crowd, the whole thing, and like you're moving and shaking, and then COVID hits. And so you guys pivoted. So you have the market there now. kind of went to a market thing, but you're also opened up the side actual alley for some things as well. So what's going on there currently, and then what's the plan moving forward?
Durham helped us out the same way that it helped a lot of restaurants, and expanded seating outdoors for people. So where we normally had our little footprint of like 3 tables, now we have 14 that extend up the alley, that we can socially distance and all that. And we're hoping that they will extend that past COVID.
Right.
Because I think it's been a winner for a lot of restaurants. But yeah, so we had to pivot and, trying to feed people in 35, 40 degree weather in the winter. It's like, what are we going to serve that people are willing to come out and suffer through that? Yeah. Everything's in to-go containers and what have you. But we just tried to make things that were approachable and easy. We're not trying to...
Like what was the popular items that you were serving?
So, we do like our Bang Bang cauliflower. It's like a beer battered cauliflower with like Bang Bang sauce or, I just brought back some of our favorites pre-COVID, like the shishito peppers, and we're going to bring back our chicken liver mousse. Like we've been selling it in our store. So we pivoted and opened an actual retail store.
Yeah.
Because we can't see people inside, and we're selling all the things that... we used pre-COVID, so like bottling all of our syrups and our tonic that people have come to love. And we have a whole tiki section with, banana syrup and passion fruit syrup and whatever. And like just pretty much everything that we used to serve, now you can bring it home and do it yourself.
Right.
But when October happened and obviously the state fair couldn't be a thing, we did a state fair pop-up for 2 weeks in the alley, and I made all state fair food. I was making corn dogs and turkey legs, and people loved it. My friend has a pet pig. She brought the pig by on one Saturday for the kids to, because you have to have a barnyard animal. It's the state fair.
Of course.
So Jolene made an appearance in the alley, and everybody loved it.
Jolene
is the pig's name.
Jolene.
Yeah.
Don't take my man, Jolene.
Hey, Max, I don't know if you remember, but way back when we were still like in our infancy, we played a little game, did a little segment. It was the first and only time we did it. Maybe we have to bring it back. I don't know. But we did How Well Do You Know Your co-host? And tried to figure out what each of us would order. And we did it with the Alley 26 menu.
That's right. We did. So we basically would look at a menu, and we looked at the Alley 26 menu, and I picked what I thought Matt would order.
I'm hoping it was all of it.
Cocktails to appetizers, dessert, dinner, and dessert. I think we did pretty well. We knew each other.
I'll have to go back and listen.
Yeah, you're just going to get all the decadent crap, whatever's fattening and very alcoholic. That's what Max ordered. And I was like, whatever doesn't have carbs or gluten, that's what Matt's ordering. So, but that's right. We should figure that out.
I'm not gluten-free, but
He's not,
I try to watch the carbs, Try to eat somewhat healthy.
Oh, it's not like an allergy or an aversion.
No.
It's just...
Look at the disdain she gave to you.
A silly
said
choice
that.
True.
in life.
No, I have no problem with gluten.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Yeah.
But he's married, so,
Right. Yeah, by proxy, I guess I have an
As
issue.
the great Sam Jackson says, my wife's a vegetarian, or my girlfriend's a vegetarian, therefore that makes me a vegetarian.
Which pretty much makes me, yeah. So cool. So you established Alley 26. You and Shannon seem to work pretty well together. I got
far.
You never know when that's going to go wrong, but no.
The kids definitely know when mommy and daddy are fighting.
Oh, yeah?
That's always fun.
Bring us behind the scenes there. Come on.
Yeah.
Was there a good one that people still talk about?
No, not really. And I have the utmost respect for him. Obviously, I've been with him for 5 years now, and he very recently, as we talked about a little bit, promoted me to run his other restaurant, and I'm grateful to do it for him. I'm happy to do it. For me too, but obviously, he's a great guy to work for, albeit we always have our differences or our disagreements, but...
Sure.
Well, Shannon doesn't have any opinions. So.
Oh, my God. That guy.
So, it was funny. He actually was very quiet on the tipping episode. I was like, Shannon, this is your place. He's like, no, finally, you guys are asking the right questions.
Yeah.
I don't have to jump in and say anything.
People that are very intelligent on the subject matter, I can actually feel comfortable that they're saying the right things. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
But he recently got into business with Crook's Corner. We had talked about that a little while ago because famed chef Bill Smith had announced his retirement from the business and all. And then and he was sitting exactly where you're sitting, I guess maybe 2 years ago, roughly, when he was talking about that and his Pabst and his tomato sandwiches and all that.
Yeah.
But so through that time, there was a little transition, and during, I believe, what both Shannon and Gary Crunkleton kind of came together, two badasses in the bar scene, but also ties to the Crook's Corner, took it over and been running it ever since. And now through this kind of rebirth of reopening and all that, you have been given the keys to the kitchen.
Yep.
And so that, for those that haven't been, Crook's Corner, I mean, I've been there a few times. It is what you want a Southern style restaurant to be. It's casual, it's charming, it's got that Southern hospitality just kind of feel. It's very low key as far as the decor goes, and that it feels like you're just on someone's patio or at a house or so. It's not stuffy at all. But the food has always just been super thoughtful, very simple, but yet a lot of great technique that goes into it, where it's like, like in music, the greatest producer is the one you don't realize, and that's what I think. That's the way Crook's Corner kind of like quietly throws out really, really good food. So with that said, Jersey girl, what are you doing in this kitchen, and how are you adjusting to being to filling in the shoes, I guess, if you will, of cooking it like a Southern restaurant?
So, I mean, I've been here for 11 years. Yes, this is a new adventure for me, but I still approach it the same way I approach Allie. It's not so much like what the cuisine is. The importance is that we just put thought into the food, we make good food, and we serve people good food, and they enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, when you're given the keys to a 39-year-old castle, you have to tread lightly. We don't want to take away things that people are used to having, and like I've commented many times in the past couple of weeks, like the shrimp and grits aren't going anywhere. We're not going to touch it. We're not going to change it. It is the staple of that restaurant, and there's no reason to mess with that. But having said that, it's a 39-year-old restaurant, and it's okay to do new things too. So we're finding that balance of, finding the new Crook's Corner and blending it with the old, and just providing an experience that people are going to enjoy when they come in.
Is it like, I like, because you'll get this reference, like when you go to a new football team, do you get like a playbook? Do you get Bill Smith and Bill Neal's like recipe book from back in the day?
Yeah, we sell the books in the store, so I mean, but yes, but I've also been very fortunate that I've met Chef Bill prior to taking over. So I've known him for some time, and he's actually been helping me the last couple of weeks as well. He's in no way does he want to come back into the kitchen, but he has been assisting. Like, he is retired. Yeah. But I am grateful that he has been in the kitchen a couple days a week helping us with other things like Carbro United meals, which is a service that it's a pre-ordered, dinner for two. And
so is there anywhere that he gets in on like actual execution, or is it just actual like manpower that? And he does it for me, which is great. Like he's been guest chefing, if you will, to do those dinners. So he just comes in and takes care of it, because splitting my time and still trying to hire people in order to be fully staffed in both places, there's just not enough hours in the day. So I'm grateful that he's been helping. And I recently asked him, like, would you mind the next time you go to the farmer's market, could I go with you? And because I want to, I know all the Durham guys. Now I want to start integrating myself into Chapel Hill as well, because obviously we want to support local. And Crook's Corner was kind of farm to fork before that was even a term. Right.
Bill Neal started that, and Bill Smith kept it up, and I would like to continue that. So there's no better way than going with the man himself to meet all the people that are going to supply us.
Have access to them. It's like Roy Williams stepping down and but still hanging out, being like, you might want to go man to man on this.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah, and wear this suit, by the way, with this tie. Yeah.
That's right.
But a lot of change happened in Chapel Hill, but that's like good change.
Yeah, they were upset this week.
Seriously.
I don't have a dog in that fight, so it's like, I went to work. But
yeah, but now you're kind of in the middle of that rivalry, because you have restaurants at both both corners.
Again, it's like, great. Are you going to come watch the Duke game? Are you going to come watch the, Carolina game? I'm going to feed you regardless.
By the way, I was watching the finals last night. We're recording this on a Tuesday after the NCAA finals. Gonzaga has just been crushing everybody the entire year, and
I will actually say this year for sports has been not that big of a deal for me. Like, I just feel like maybe because there's no fans in the stadiums, I don't know how you all feel, but like football seemed the same. I don't know why. I felt like I still enjoyed it just the same. But basketball, I feel a huge disconnect.
Yeah.
And I just don't give a shit as much. I even forgot to fill out a bracket, which is I haven't done that since I was 12. And I'm like watching it, and I'm like, oh, Gonzaga, they're just going to take it. They're crushing everybody they play. And I'm watching the first 10 minutes in bed. I fell asleep early. I woke up with the TV on, and it was the last 6 minutes of the end of the game, and they were getting their butts kicked, and I'm like,
Pulled a
what?
Tom Brady.
And
Patriots
yeah, but they
won
no.
every game except the one that matters.
Oh yeah, exactly. I love that.
I love seeing Tom Brady.
We can all
lose.
agree on that. Giants win. But yeah, there you go, Baylor. We should take a quick break, talk about people that help keep the lights on over here, like Triangle Wine Company, who have now 5 locations. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Newly opened up there in the Bedford area.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's
Just before you get to Wake Forest.
obviously there. Southern Pines. They're in Morrisville. They're in Cary and
Holly Springs.
And
How
Holly
could you forget?
Springs.
Come on.
Yeah, where Matt lives. The
Yeah.
North Carolina Food and Beverage Shopping Center, which also has Bestow Baked Goods and Butcher's Market in there.
That's right.
But go to trianglewineco.com for all of your beverage needs, whether it be a rosé wine or a little sparkling or a little IPA or whatever you need, maybe even just some mixers for your bar. You can use the NCFB promo code to receive a discount as well. Let them know that the boys over at the podcast sent you, and check it out. That's all I got.
That's awesome.
I wanted to transition a little bit before we got on the old hot mics, and actually, Chef, you made reference to the Mayans and all that, the Mayan calendar that was ending. I just got back from Mexico, Matt, where the Mayans created an entire empire for a long time, because me and the wife and the kids went to Tulum and went for spring break, and pretty cool. Pretty warm. It was great because Raleigh was freezing when we left, and we got there. It was like 81 degrees and just beautiful. I ate at one amazing restaurant. I also ate at one amazing like taco stand, but all-inclusive resort. It's not my
not so
style.
good, yeah.
Food sucks and drinks suck, and I'm like, I felt like I was the guy in the Twilight Zone where all he wanted was peace and quiet to read his books, and then when he finally got it, he broke his glasses. So he couldn't read them. That's how I felt, where I'm like, all I want is to sit here and just get cocktails and just sit by the pool. And then I had 4 Coronas, and I'm like, can I just get an IPA over here, people? Can we just get something, or like a nice freshly squeezed juiced margarita or something? No, it's just all like bag in a box type of crap. And I'm just like, man, my snobbery cannot handle this type of low quality product. So if that means anything to anybody that listens to a show like this and you're thinking about all inclusive, remember the food and beverage is probably not going to be great unless you're going to like the Ritz or something, I would assume.
Yeah, there are a couple that people mention, like, no, actually the food's great here. I'm like, really? And
Yeah, but you got to check your sources.
Yeah,
You're like,
you got to
yeah.
check your sources. But
I mean, I drink Jägermeister and Bud Light, so I mean.
but they water it down, They even water down the
Yeah.
Jägermeister. But
Yeah. Well, but so right before we got on, I was actually a question I was thinking about to ask you, Chef, was what does a perfect scenario look like for a chef in 2021? Like, you just went over to a new restaurant. That's not it's a cool scenario, but I imagine like everything's got its issues.
Sure.
So like, what is the most hopeful you think you could be in this scenario just for the rest of this year? How do we pull out an 8-8 season basically for the chefs?
Whatever keeps the lights on at this point. I mean, pre-COVID, my answer probably would have been very different.
Yeah.
We're in this time that, people have been incredibly supportive of businesses, restaurants, and it's great. But I mean, it is drastically different than business as usual. And, Shannon and I joke all the time that we're on like the 10-day pivot plan. Every 10 days, we're changing our business model now to fit whatever fits the week.
Yeah.
We're serving food out in the alleyway. If it's 35 degrees, it's very different than if it's 81, like it's going to be today. So, it's whatever keeps the lights on at this point. We're just going to continue. We talk about this too, that it could have been easier just to shut the doors and take our PPP loans and just wait until ride this out. But like, that's not really our style either. So we're going to do what we can to stay relevant, but to be great, serve good food, serve good drinks, and just, keep serving the people of Durham, and now for me, for Chapel Hill as well, to, keep the business alive. But I mean, I think it brings a little bit of hope to people too. Like, COVID fatigue is a thing. People want out. I've seen it in the alleyway. Like, people are willing to hover around, like a heat lamp and drink their cocktails because like they just can't.
It's better than sitting at home.
It's better than sitting at home.
Yeah.
Like, they just people are social. They need to be out. They need to be with other people. And so the best thing we can do is just provide our service to the best of our ability, as always, and hopefully make it through this. Which, knock on wood, we've been doing okay so far.
Yeah.
We're just gonna hang in there and keep serving the people of Durham and Chapel Hill.
I remember it used to be like we would look at numbers as a restaurant, just wherever I was, and it was like how the goal was like, how do we just get 6 to 8 more people a night? If we could just get 6 to 8 more people a night, that's where you start making your extra nut. Like just that. And these are like more fine dining restaurants to where 6 to 8 people is a good amount of money. But now it's like, how do we get 153 more people a night?
Socially distanced and,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a host that stands at the front, and like as opposed to pre-COVID, again, you'd walk in an alley on a Friday, Saturday night at 11 o'clock, and you're wall-to-wall people. We can't do that now. So even like our standing room, so to speak, is like sectioned, and it's like there's people here, there's people here. You can't be hovering in the alley. Like, we're on a wait list. We can only fit so many people because of social distancing and all that. So I mean, it's like, how do I get 100 more people in here? But where am I going to put them? And the restrictions on time just changed. A couple weeks ago, we had to close by 10. So or 11, whatever it was.
Durham's going to have to give you access to the other alley.
That's right. Orange Street, yeah.
Yeah, Orange Street, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can open up there.
I'm sure the servers will love that. This is now the longest dining room you've ever worked in. One of the guys the other day was like checking his Apple Watch. He's like, I've walked 19,000 steps today.
Well,
because the dining room's a mile long.
Yeah.
It's good fitness.
But I mean, like I said, we pivot, we do what we have to do. The other day, more people were drinking than eating, and the kitchen was fine without me. I was behind the bar, washing the bar tools for the bartender. Like, it's come to the point, whatever job has to be done, we do it. I'm the chef of the restaurant, and I'm running food because that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no title or hierarchy or brigade system here anymore. It's like, we're all in this together, and we're going to make this work, and whatever has to happen, we're going to do it.
But that's the other thing that I hear from as you know, I'm out there talking to restaurants every day about wine and stuff like that. And the one thing I hear all the time is we cannot find, and it used to be back of the house. Now it's front of the house more than anything.
Can't find anybody because everyone's hiring too. So
and everyone's hiring. People are still getting paid unemployment, and it's like, why would I work when I'm getting paid already to sit on my ass?
Sure.
And there's also the fear factor that people
the fear factor.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. We have people that have worked for us that are like, we want to come back when the time is right. I'm not comfortable going into that situation yet. I'm not vaccinated yet. Whatever the answer is. I mean,
by the way,
there's no faulting anyone.
If you're a restaurant worker at this point and you haven't got vaccinated because you want to get vaccinated, there's no excuse. You can get vaccinated if you want to get vaccinated.
You are eligible, and it was actually very easy through Duke, but it's become pretty easy, I think, through Walgreens. You might have to travel. It may not be in the Walgreens next to your house, but
I drove an hour away to get the first vaccine.
Yeah, so we've had a couple people do that. I was very fortunate that I got in through Duke, so it was over by on campus, but
they just made light of that on Saturday Night Live the other day with just this week, where he's on a game show and he's like interviewing his family about. He's like, I have one question. What will it take for you to get a vaccine? He's like, can I give you $500? Can I give you $5,000? Right. And they're just like, he was like basically talking to his like older family members, and they're like, nope, still not going to do it. Still not going to do it. It's like, but why? I mean, whatever. People have conspiracy theories about whatever it could be, but in the end, you get vaccinated for everything else in life. Like, we don't have polio, right? So,
hold on.
Well, some people are getting it now.
But people are that microchip. Oh, it's just an excuse for microchip. Okay, let's say it is. You might even be the one who told me this. Hey, do you have a cell phone? Do you have a smartphone? Because guess what? They're following you around everywhere. And that
we got one of those Alexa Echo Dots or whatever in the bar, because I got one. it doesn't matter how I got it. I got it. And I was like, I don't want this thing in my house. So I brought it to the bar, and that's how we listen to music.
But you have
it's
an
like,
iPhone, so
they're
you
all
have the
listening.
same thing.
But it's like, hey, look, even if there is a microchip in that vaccine, like maybe I'll understand how to use Excel better now. Like, I'm okay with this.
Can they input
I can
some, like,
finally use
intelligence?
Microsoft Word. I'm 40 years old. Like, I'm not good at the technology like these kids. So it's like, yeah, if you could put anything in there that's going to help me, that's great. Because I know you're already following me. You're already listening. I see the lights. I know what's happening.
I saw like some
You know-
scandalous thing about like Mark Zuckerberg is being, indicted upon sharing 583 million people's private information, their phone numbers, their names. And I wrote in the comment section, back in the day, we used to all admittedly put our name, address, and phone number in a thing called the white pages.
Yeah.
And no one gave a shit. So whatever else you've put into Facebook that's so private, that's on you. Like, if you didn't
Right.
want someone to know your birth date or who you're married to or what job you have, take it off.
Or how about don't be on Facebook?
Right.
Yeah, if
I
you're
mean,
that concerned.
You talk about a pair of shoes you like, and 3 minutes later, Facebook and Instagram's telling you how to buy them. It's like, what's happening here?
Oh, by the way,
They know.
Pro tip for everybody. I learned a way. Now that I'm saying this, it's not going to work any longer because they're listening. They're all listening. But I have learned a way to save a buck or two on an Amazon purchase. If you like something and you don't need it right now, just put it in your cart and walk away. And let a couple days go by. You will start getting emails from Amazon going, hey, you got something in your cart? Hey, buddy. Yeah, you forgot? How about an extra 20% off? And you're like, I waited. I got an extra 30% off. I waited. I went to Mexico, came back. I bought Doc Martens that were supposed to be $81 for $21.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because I wanted to relive my my 1995 childhood teenager time with Doc Martens. But
It's
no,
all
they look
coming
cool.
back.
But I was like, yeah, they just want you to spend money, and they're like, okay, maybe this was too much money. We asked, well, how about this money? We just want anything. We just want you to keep buying
Just buy
things.
them, please.
Yeah, so just
well,
do
how about
that.
we give them to you?
All right, cool. There you go.
Let's talk about this for a second, because we talked about getting through COVID, pivoting, doing whatever keeps the lights on. So let's say we're in the second half of the year, or we're in 2022 at this point, and I don't know, somebody comes to you and says, Carrie, I want you to open up a restaurant. Chef, what do you want to do? What do you...
Mexico.
Well, I mean,
Go to Tulum.
yeah. So I've been to Tulum, but I was young. It was like a family trip. I mean, less than 10 young. So
Yeah.
like food or drink or thing like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I was
I mean,
a
you
kid
had a
that was
couple
like, look at the
margaritas,
Mayan
but-
ruins. This is amazing. Like I remember loving it,
Yeah.
but like I was too young to appreciate the things that if I were to
Mezcal
go
in
now.
your horchata. I got
Right.
it. Yeah.
But even food, it's like I probably, had tacos or whatever. And it's like, whatever, I'm an 8-year-old kid. So
It tastes just like every taco I've ever had.
Right. I would love to go back. We have a friend that just went there and said it was great. And we started talking about it. I was like, we should just open a little no-frills, little food stand down there, move to Mexico, cut the lights at 6 o'clock, just do lunch and whatever, and live our best Rob Mariani life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not reality. I don't know how this jackass pulls this off, but it's not reality. So to answer
we
your
hate you,
question,
by the
It doesn't
way.
cost a lot to have a
that's
hammock
okay.
by the beach.
I texted him the other day. I was like, I hate you. I just want you to know this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I just want to live on a beach and drink pina coladas and cook some food for people to
I
enjoy.
thought that's what I wanted.
for 4 hours
but
a
then
day.
I was there, and like everything always irritates me at
you
all
would
times.
not enjoy that.
No.
You would go crazy.
I was sitting there, like the beaches are stunning, but then as I'm like walking into the sandy beach, the water's like crystal clear until you get there, and then there's huge rocks, and then I almost cut my foot on a shell, and then the next thing, and then now I'm stuck like only 4 feet in, and I can't move because I'm surrounded by rocks, and I'm like, this is horrible.
Yeah, I hear you. I say this in my mind, like this is what I want to do, and I feel like after I kind of realized this even, when COVID happened and we all had to shut down. I mean, we were all unemployed we were fortunate we were only out of work for 2 months. Some people are still out of work, a year later, but that first week or two after not working like 12, 14-hour days, 5-6 days a week, it was like, this is lovely. Like, this sucks and it's scary and we don't really understand what this thing is yet, but my body doesn't hurt for the first time in forever. And after like the 9th day, and I was like, no, this is bullshit. I need out of this house. Like, I can't. And I say to myself, I'd love to go live on a beach and just whatever. And I have a feeling after like 3 days, I'd be like, nope, got to get back to work. I can't do this.
I remember last April. It was Passover, and we were having a Seder that was actually catered by Jacob Boehm. He offered to cater all these Seders, which was awesome. And some person, I think it was my father-in-law, was talking about how like the, you know, all of the clergy was talking about the fact that since planes were pretty much shut down and nobody was driving anywhere, the vibration of the earth had actually significantly lowered.
Yeah, a little less hum.
Yeah, and I just thought about that, and I'm like, I mean, I know that COVID is obviously a global pandemic and bad, but it's kind of a good thing. Like, just, you know, the whole idea of recentering and being with your family or being with your loved ones or just taking a break from work is not a bad thing. And that's fine if 9 days later you came back and maybe you're recharged and stuff like that. But I don't.
But a year.
Some people call that just like a vacation.
Yeah, some people call that a vacation. But when you're on vacation, but here's the difference. When you're on vacation, you're still thinking like, oh, but work's still going on.
Yeah.
I'm just not there.
I do have that problem.
You know?
It's hard enough splitting my time now between two places. It's like if I'm not in the other one, it's like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Are they okay?
Right.
Of course they're okay. Like, but they're, you know, my little baby birds, and it's
So you don't have, I guess the question I was getting at back to was did you have carte blanche on the Alley 26 menu, or was Shannon? Yeah. So you was just like, do what you want to do.
Obviously,
and make it.
like I said, I respect him, and it's his place, and we're trying to do right by it. Like anything I come up with, I'll usually make it, and I'll be like, what do you think, and whatever. But and I'll always ask him for input.
Yeah.
The same way, believe it or not, like obviously I don't have a background in bartending or anything, but you know, he'll make a drink and say, try this.
Right.
And, you know, like, what do you think? Like, we, you know,
use your chef
support
palate.
each other. And because sometimes it's just a different perspective. It helps to see.
Shannon's a smart guy, so it's like, let me hire somebody that I can trust is going to make good decisions in their field, and then let them do it. Like that's a smart thing to do, and it's a confident thing to do business wise. Because also, he doesn't want to be burdened with every single thing. Like, hopefully you hire people in your kitchen that can prep properly, so you don't have to keep looking at all the vegetables and make sure that they've all been chopped correctly.
Right.
You're like, no, I got it. You know what you're doing, or at least I showed you how to do it, and I hope that you listened to what I said, and that way I can move on to the next thing.
That's right.
That's like the old Bill Gates quote, and I think I might have even said it on the pod before, but not Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, who said, at Apple, we hire intelligent people to not tell them what to do so that they can tell us what to do, essentially.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, no, you don't need to tell them what to do because you want that collective intelligence.
Well, and that's the mentality that you need to have, Chef, even more now that you have multiple locations, right?
Yep.
So, like, you have to have a lot of trust and faith.
That's right.
But that also then gives your employees or whoever you're working with at the time a little bit more self-worth as well. You know, if you're constantly being told how to do everything, you feel micromanaged and you feel like you're probably not taken seriously. You don't have as much worth here. Whereas if you just feel like, oh yeah, like my boss, she just lets me do my thing. It's like, well, yeah, because your thing is correct.
That's right.
If you,
as long as they understand what mommy wants, I mean.
Yeah, like you have
It's
to
like,
have
you know,
the vision.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I have a good staff at Alley, and I have a great staff at Crook's too that I inherited. I am looking to hire at Crook's because I do need a sous chef type.
Yeah. There you
If
go.
anybody's listening.
Maybe we should get Ross Mendoza to move out to North Carolina.
I mean,
He's got nothing to go on.
I would take it.
Yeah.
Ross is great. He's such a. I miss that guy. I miss all those people. I mean, what a good time that was. But yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate that you know, my sous chef Joseph, who's been with me for years now over multiple restaurants. He originally worked with me at G2B, and now he's been my sous chef at Alley for a couple of years. And I just hired another sous chef, Quentin, who has been there a couple of weeks, but he's great. So I know, like, the store's taken care of. They're there. And I tell them, it's like, look, we got this extra fill in the blank in the freezer. Make a special out of it. Just make it for me. I'll taste it and then go. I'm not like one of those, you know, egomaniacs that's like, this is my kitchen, my menu. I don't care what you have. Like, I'm not like that. It's like, look, again, there's stuff in the freezer. We got to clear this out. Let's make a special out of it, whatever. Or, you know, make me something. And, because it keeps their creative freedom alive too. And that essentially makes it better for people. Like they, they want to feel like they have a value.
Yeah. And that also translates.
And they do.
And they do, and their opinions and know-how and knowledge is welcome, and I really do get that just working with you guys at both Crooks and Alley, especially in the front of the house too, where Shannon, who knows a lot about wine, and he's really knowledgeable, he lets, like, shout out to Scotty and Claire and Casey over at Crooks, like, he really lets them make decisions. It's like, if you like the wine and you can sell it, then buy the wine.
Yeah.
You know, and he doesn't have to be there and tasting the wine. And so I really appreciate that and respect that, because honestly, I don't even know if I could do that myself. Just like let somebody else choose the wine for my establishment. That would be rough.
I think that's only for me. I'm only starting to understand that now, and maybe it's with age. It's like ego is starting to slow down on me, like where it's almost like I'm just getting more tired. It's like I'd rather just let like you do it. I remember when I was your age, when I was 27, I wanted to do everything, and you're looking at me like you want more responsibility. Cool,
yeah,
do it. Ask me the hard questions, but you fill in all the ones in between. Like
that's right.
You know, when I had super ego and it was like 33 and I'm running a place, I had to make every decision because I'm like, no, I just can't trust that the person that I'm putting in charge of this is going to do it right. Mainly also, let's be honest, because I did a few times and then it was like a major problem happened. Like we got 10 cases of something we didn't want, and now we've got it like because you forgot how to order things or something, and now
you thought you were ordering 10 bottles and you ordered 10 cases.
Yeah, something ridiculous. Or it's like, oh yeah, I thought I was getting the one that was $9 a bottle, but it was actually $19 a bottle. And it's like, do you realize you just spent all of our budget on something because of a dumb mistake, and now like, oh, no, you're trying to return it, and then they're giving you broken bottle charge, fees and all that shit, and it's like, well, now we just got to figure out how to sell super expensive, Sauvignon Blanc or something, right, which is never a fun place to be. But yeah, after some while, you're just like, all right, let's figure this out and just let people do their thing. I think it just shows like better leadership and strength, right? When you can just kind of run your restaurant from that angle.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean, working in New York and working here and working in multiple places, like I've seen it all, I was very fortunate to work for Floyd Cardoz, who was one of the sweetest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
But, there's other, we would go to our local bar after, like every cook does, and you talk to other cooks from other restaurants where, like, the other guy sitting next to me got a pan thrown at him today because he burnt the corner of a side of fish or something, Yeah. Like, I've seen it all, and I've, I'm so past that. There's no yelling. There's no throwing shit in the kitchen. There's no, as you get older, maybe like your temper, subsides and all that. But it doesn't make for a good work environment.
I think it also is like the times have changed a lot.
And the times have changed. And like the biggest shame that will come out of this for restaurants is that if we didn't learn anything from this, like shame on us.
Right.
There's definitely things that you take a step back and you've seen it now, and it's like, we can make a change here. Like, this isn't healthy physically, emotionally, whatever.
Socially, yeah.
Socially, there's changes that can be made here permanently, and we're going to be okay. And the restaurant and the bar are all going to make it. But, like, we can do this better for our people. And that's really what we strive for now. And like I said, in both places, I'm very fortunate to have a staff that are hardworking and passionate and care, and like I said, we're going to get through this all together. Yeah. It's going to be great.
In some cases, might be better. I have one last question on a completely different topic, but and maybe it's for more my own personal education, but you mentioned about being 8 years old and not caring about what a taco tastes like, but you're a chef. You've always kind of been into food, and I'm wondering, like, a lot of people have kids. You have kids, like some are discerning.
That hasn't changed. I mean, this is a radio show, but if you're taking a look at me, obviously, I'm like, come on.
Well,
Who doesn't?
But you say at like 8 years old, though, I didn't really care. Like, it tasted like any other taco. But do you think that I have the opinion that maybe that's different, and I'll give you an example why. So my son, and you could say, oh, son of a sommelier, so maybe his palate like naturally is better. Maybe, I don't know. But he loves blueberry muffins in the morning, and so he has the Publix brand blueberry muffins. If I ever buy him
a sponsor,
not a sponsor, but could be. If I ever buy him the non-Publix brand, he's like, nah.
Oh yeah, remember I bought him on our ski trip. I bought him some like store-bought Entenmann's blueberry, and he was like, meh.
Yeah,
he just kind of walked away from it.
Yeah, he kind of good Entenmann's.
No, he actually surprisingly he did eat those. But if I buy it from like Harris Teeter or anywhere else, he's like, nah. And even if I try to like trick him, he's not even 5 yet, and put it in a different package, he's not into it. So
Good
Is that
for
him
him.
just being picky and knowing something that he's liked and used to, or is that actually a discerning palate at that age to be like, no, these are actually superior?
Well, I can speak
mean-
from that. Like Charlotte, who's 8 years old, you wouldn't think she has this super defined palate, but she only eats bread and cheese, and because of that, she's deficient in certain things. So mommy will put in like protein powders into like a lemonade or something like random, and the second she tries it, Charlotte, she's like, no, there is something wrong in this. Like, what is that? So it's like, oh, so you
Like
can
you're
figure it
tuned
out.
in, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, is that a little bit of cumin? Yeah, you did it a little different.
Did you put turmeric in my lemonade?
Yeah. So I think kids are just as attuned to adults, but I mean, you're looking at like what the difference is. Like my Conchinita Pibil tacos I was trying, the place I went to, the Honorario. Anyway, it's one of the nicer places there. That's like a stand. The setup, by the way, at this place looked just like what we look at our barbecue restaurants. Like the whole setup, it was like, oh, this is Mexico's barbecue restaurant,
Yeah.
which was cool, or at least Tulum's, and they had like 3 different types of pork taco. I'm like, oh, how different are all these? And so I'm like, all right, well, let's order all of them. And so we got them all. Like, we'll do 4 of each of everything. They're like, okay, this will be $8 or something like that. But I tried them all, and with a discerning palate, I really wanted to figure out the difference. And I tasted all the differences, and I didn't realize that I was going to figure it out that easily. I was like, oh my God, yeah, the orange juice is coming through in this one, and oh, there's like clove in this one that's coming through. They were wildly different and all completely satisfying. So I will say, like, that taco experience was awesome, and the flavors were like booming. Even Charlotte said, might be the best quesadilla I've ever had.
Whoa.
It was awesome because, I mean, they're making the tortillas just right behind her and throwing it down. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a
Or
product
maybe
of
it's
us
just
giving
individual,
a shit.
or
but-
maybe your parents giving a shit. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
We'll have to do. We'll have to have a scientist on that can examine the palate of a child.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't picky as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not really picky now. There's very few things I don't like,
Really, but I mean,
but
as a
there's
chef,
things that I
like-
don't like.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
Dukes
we
or
were even
Hellmann's?
talking about.
Dukes or Hellmann's mayo.
So, this was my favorite thing to find out at Crook's Corner, like the quintessential Southern restaurant. And the first thing I noticed the first day I walked into the walk-in cooler, there was a jug of Hellmann's mayo
Yeah.
instead of Duke's. And I literally did a 360. I'm by myself in the walk-in. I'm like, what the hell is this? I grew up with Hellmann's. I never even heard of Duke's before I moved here. So
Same.
like, I'm here for it.
Right.
This is great. And I asked Chef Bill. I was like, Bill, what's this? He's like, I grew up here. Grew up with Hellmann's. That's what we serve. And I was like, fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm here
and,
for it.
And one of the most famous things he makes is the tomato mayonnaise sandwich,
Yeah.
and it's with Hellmann's.
Yeah.
So all you naysayers out there,
And if
it's
you're on
like-
the West Coast, it's Best Foods.
Right.
Hellmann's and Best Foods are like Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So, yeah, I mean, at this point, like, I don't know if it's like sacrilegious to say, like, I'm not really picky. If there's Duke's, there's Hellmann's. I'll
Yeah.
eat both. I
In
grew up
the
with
end, do
Hellmann's.
you really notice and taste it?
If I buy mayo, I'll probably grab the Hellmann's just because 40 years later, that's still what we're doing. But
Sure.
I'm not picky like that. It's the same thing with like barbecue. People around here, they're very picky about their barbecue. It's like, this place is great and this is awful and they did this and that right and wrong and whatever. And it's like, I eat in these
don't know.
places and it's like, ooh, I
brought
think
up a
they're all
sore
good. I
subject,
don't
Chef.
know. Why is this not good? Because I'm enjoying
So,
it.
I gotta say, all names aside,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I'm not naming any
We're not
places.
gonna piss people off, or whatever, because you will if you start saying what one's better than the other. But man, barbecue is not created equal.
no.
No,
and-
it's not at all. But like, that's my point. When I'm eating, it's like someone's sitting there saying, this is amazing or it's awful. And I'm just sitting there like, I think it's pretty good. I don't understand why this isn't good.
I think
I'm
as
missing it.
people
I'm
will
missing
say-
the point. Like, I'm enjoying this.
Somebody's enjoying it, and you're. And
Yeah, if someone says like place A is not as good as place B, and I've eaten in both of them, and it's like, I enjoyed my meal in both places. I don't understand why I'm missing it.
but
I
I
know
think,
what I'm
like-
saying here. I'm probably going to get like crucified for it, but it's
They say like pizza, right? Like even bad
Oh.
pizza is good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I think like bad barbecue is bad. Like to where I will not want to eat it. Like if it's undersalted, it's dry, if it's just been sitting out for a while, or even if it's fresh but it just wasn't properly seasoned, I don't want that food. I don't want to eat it.
Sure, but that comes down to an execution issue.
Right.
Issue. You know, like that's just, I didn't taste this before I start. That's with anything. That's not just barbecue.
Yeah.
If I don't season the burger before I send it to someone, it's not going to be good.
But what I'm saying is I've had some barbecue recently a couple times, and it was a letdown, like from the same place a couple times, because I'm like, I want to believe that I like this, and I don't. I will give a huge shout out to Jake Wood and Lawrence Barbecue, because I personally, that is my favorite barbecue from now on. Like he can do no wrong in my mind. Jake is killing the barbecue, and he's doing these pop-ups all around town. So Jake, you're my boy. If you ever see a Lawrence Barbecue pop-up, go there.
I'll have to check it out.
Amazing barbecue.
Well, he's opening up in RTP in the Boxcar, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be happening, and then he's popping up somewhere else. One of our friends, or was he doing it Sidebar?
He's everywhere, man.
Yeah.
He's doing a bunch of stuff.
But no, I have the same feeling. And as a matter of fact, there was a place that I expected to be very good, and I took my wife was out of town. I took my boys, and I was like, let's get some barbecue. And wow, was I disappointed.
Like, that's a bummer.
It wasn't seasoned. It was cooked fine, but it was like, I kept putting sauce on. I'm like, what am I missing here? Yeah. And so I text Max, and I was like, hey, by the way, have you eaten at X barbecue joint? And he's like, oh, no good. And I was like, I know. I was like, okay, so it's not just me.
I also went to a pop-up with like somebody that just did some pop-up barbecue, and I couldn't have been more dissatisfied. Now I sound like a total asshole saying this, but I think what has changed me, my wife did it to me, because she bought me that Kamado Joe for Christmas, and so I've been smoking everything. Like, I smoke
Text me your address. I'm coming over after this. Let's pull the plug.
Hey, by the way, with the recent Easter, we had all these hard-boiled eggs, dyed eggs. So tonight, I'm making smoked deviled eggs at the house, because why not? And maybe some chicken
Carries
wings.
off.
Yeah.
I'm off.
You come on over.
Yeah.
We will have smoked
I'll just go
chicken
grab
wings.
some Bud Light. We'll be over. No problem.
That sounds like, I mean, seriously, let's do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think now I just have a different appreciation for, because I know how long it takes me to make what I consider is like my bar, which for the culinary bar is a 5. So I'm like, you got to at least be Trujillo level. You at least got to be there to make me
commercially sell your product.
Yeah. Like if it's at least as good as mine, although Brian Hoyle did say, and he's like, I hate to say this, Brian Hoyle, voice of the show, next door neighbor, longtime born and raised North Carolinian, he had my Christmas barbecue that I made, and he said, I hate to tell you this because I know you're never going to stop talking about it. This might be the best barbecue this North Carolina boy's ever had.
Whoa.
Wow.
And yeah, that's
We're talking about like pork, right?
Pork, yeah.
So
if we didn't have the
kid from New Jersey, you say barbecue, it's like, all right, we having steaks or hamburgers or
Burgers
what?
and dogs,
Like,
yeah.
That's what
like
on the West Coast too.
Fire up the barbecue.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and we're talking
so
about
we're lighting the grill.
A propane grill. We're putting chicken breasts on there.
And I mean, I even go into barbecue joints now, and I got to be honest, like it's the home of the pig in North Carolina. I usually get brisket.
Oh, yeah.
I prefer brisket.
But when the brisket is done right, there's nothing like it.
Oh God, it's my favorite.
And we got to give a mazel tov to the Suttons on their new child that is.
Speaking of an excellent executor of a brisket, some of the best that I've ever eaten. Yeah.
Yeah, as a non-pro, I guess, because he doesn't have a brick and mortar. That doesn't mean he's not cooking professionally awesome stuff. But Kyle of Bestow Baked Goods, Kyle and Heather, she did all the hard work. She had the baby.
Yeah.
Kyle stood there in the corner and was just making brisket, I guess. I don't know what he's doing, but he also makes the best brisket I've ever had.
Oh, I love it so much.
I actually, he and Jake Wood could go throw down back or side by side. That would be very challenging to say what was better. And it doesn't matter. You're going to win either way.
Right.
They're both flawless. So,
we've talked about this.
I know. A
We
brisket
gotta do
off.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Throw Jacob Bowman there.
I
Right.
will
In his
happily be
style.
one of the judges.
You mean what? Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be a great judge. Yeah.
All right, we got to do this. This will be a summer thing that we do now that the vaccines are going off.
Yeah.
We'll do a little public thing.
Yeah.
But
Until then, you get to taste something of your choice when you go home. I don't know if you saw when you walked in the studio, there's a beautiful little red freezer that contains all the proof alcohol ice cream you could ever want.
Oh wow!
And so if you listen to the show, you know that they're great sponsors of ours because they found a proprietary way to put in the alcohol into the ice cream. So
I've had their product. It is delightful.
Yeah. Okay.
They sell it over at the Bodega in Durham.
Yes,
That's
they
right.
do. Yes, they do.
And it's delightful.
Yeah. What's your favorite flavor?
flavor? Or
I
what
think I've only tried one. I don't remember.
Well, they've got like the coconut rum. They've got the bourbon caramel.
I think I had the bourbon caramel.
Probably the bourbon
Yeah.
caramel.
I mean,
all right.
if it usually like cookies and cream is my go-to, or like a bourbon caramel. Like the Ben and Jerry Twisteds are my favorites. You know,
Okay.
when they do like the two flavors in one. Usually, if it has like brownie and cookie dough in it, like I'm all
happy
for
to go.
it. The half baked, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, maybe today you should try the apple pie moonshine.
that sounds delightful.
Yeah.
It's delicious. Bring it on over to the house with the beers.
That's right.
There you
For
go.
sure.
We'll smoke
sounds
some
great.
wings. So go to proofalcoholicecream.com, check the link in our show notes, or just go anywhere that you can find that red branded freezer, like a Lowe's, a Harris Teeter, the aforementioned Triangle Wine Company. Really, you can find it everywhere. Check them out. They're awesome, delicious products. I think that's all we got for the day. Matt, what else do we have?
That's all we got. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So much for what you do for both Durham and Chapel Hill. Everybody out there, get yourself to Alley 26 and Crook's Corner. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
That's all we can hope for.
Thanks for listening to the NCFB podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.